Hey there, friends. Shango here from Shaping Fire, and I'm with my good buddy Tyler Markwart, who's here as well. We are here to talk about Tyler's Büchner Funnel technique, and some of you may have already seen the video that we did, I don't know, almost 2 years ago now, when he was here, when he had just figured out this technique. And Tyler helps me with hash all the time, and so he came up to do that with me, and then he brought this get up with him, and I'm all like, oh my god, I am always going to use this when I make hash from here on out. And so we posted that video on YouTube and told some people about it on Instagram, and the response was like pretty significant. People were pretty stoked to have an option that dries out their hash very quickly without the high budget tool of a freeze dryer. And I think we all want a freeze dryer, right? Freeze dryers are great and totally are useful. But a lot of us are balling on a budget, and this definitely falls in that category. So I was talking with Tyler, and since he was going to be up here on Vashon Island this weekend helping me out, I said, hey man, let's go ahead and do an update video, because the first one we did, we didn't actually realize it was going to be such a big hit, and we did kind of a pretty quick abbreviated version, and I'm all like, well, we might as well do a longer version with all of the best practices that he has developed in the last 18 months or whatever. And so here we are with this. So Tyler, thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so let's start with the purpose. What is the purpose of the device?
So this device will help hash makers at home dry their hash faster, so there's a reduction in any sort of contamination through mold issues from having too much water in your material. It's going to allow water to come out really quickly, and by doing that, you're giving yourself a much better chance to have a higher end quality product. Right on.
So let's go through the equipment first, because I'm sure there's a lot of folks out there like me who were not familiar with the Büchner funnel at first. So why don't you start at the top and work our way through to the vacuum pump?
Absolutely. So at the top here, we're going to have this hairband. I have long hair, so this works out well for me. You could use a variety of different things, a rubber band, but this is just what I have on hand, and that is going to secure the piece of aluminum foil, which has a very small hole in it here. You can use the tip of a pen to poke that through. This is going to create a suction device. Other people on the internet who've been using this have shown me that they've used Tupperware tops or some sort of plastic top, and they've been burping it a little bit. There's a variety of different things that you can use. I just had this readily available, so that's what I ended up using, and it works really well. If you don't make the hole big enough, it will pop this off into the air, and you'll be very surprised at that when that happens. But then we have the actual top piece here, which is connected to the vacuum pump. This has a glass frit disc in it, and it has a tube on the inside, which allows a vacuum to be pulled through the flask. And so you could use a variety of different sizes. This is a 500 ml top and a 2,000 milliliter flask. This is more stable, right? Giving you the stability. At my place, I use a 1,000 milliliter flask and a 1,000 milliliter, or I'm sorry, a 500 milliliter flask and a 1,000 milliliter funnel, and that allows me to put larger amounts in and still pull a tight vacuum. Then going from the tube here into the vacuum pump is pretty much all the parts. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parts in total to the equipment.
Right on. So a couple things I want to point out. This frit disc, which is essentially a filter, it's built in, so you don't buy these separately. This is one piece, which I didn't realize at first when I was first starting to shop for it. There you go. And so Ty, just to give people a general idea, the pump's kind of like it's separate things. So this piece and this piece, which is where I actually don't know if it's mostly expense. What should somebody expect to pay for that on like Amazon or something?
For sure. So you can get in a variety of different sizes, but this is going to be less than $75 for the two of them, depending on the type of glass, the quality of glass. Like everything has quality ranges, right? And so depending on where you get it from and all that, it's going to be less than $100.
Wow.
Yeah.
Much less than a freeze dryer. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So now we know we're using it to take water out of the hash material very quickly. And it's an affordable option. So will you walk us through the using of it?
Yep, absolutely. So what we'll do is we'll take the hash out of the bag when we're pulling the 45 bag or the 73 or the 90, whatever you decide to use. Take that material out, put it onto a screen. We've been using these 5-inch by 5-inch screens that were provided by the Press Club for us to use here. And that then goes into the funnel area, and you place it down, lay it flat. I find that often slicing the patty a little bit will help with air getting through and allowing it to dry a little bit faster. You don't have to do that. Once that's on there, you're going to want to take the aluminum foil here, put it on the top, secure it with whatever device that you have. Again, you don't have to use aluminum foil. You can use a plastic lid. They probably actually make, if you're into chemistry and you work in a chemistry lab, there probably is a device that they actually legitimately make for this. I just haven't looked for it yet because
this works really well.
This is just in my kitchen and just one less thing to purchase and over. And yeah, so then you hook up the tubing here, make sure the tubing is attached. This has I can't remember the name of it now, but it'll attach itself without coming off. The vacuum won't pull the tube off, so you don't have to secure that to that at all. And then on this side, I did secure it with a mount, and so that's mounted to that. When you purchase these pumps, something to note is that they usually need to be filled with oil. So you will have to buy some vacuum pump oil. You can purchase that at your local auto store. I think I went to O'Reilly's or something like that, and they had a bottle there. But vacuum pump oil, it needs to be specific vacuum pump oil, and then they have a max minimum line usually on the outside, and there also is a glass chamber. You can see how much oil you have in there, so that helps you set that up. Once it's all hooked up and everything's attached like we have here and the hash is in there, just turn the pump on. I let it run in between the runs, so when I make hash, I usually do a 3-minute run, depending on the quality of the hash and all the standards that go around it. 3 minutes allows it to pull most of the water out. It's still going to be wet. It's not 100% dry. It's not like a miracle
but you can see individual granule,
Yeah.
It turns it from what is essentially wet mud
Yep.
to being just barely damp sand.
Correct.
And
that
saves 2 days
Yep.
at least
Yep.
of oxidation doing it with dehumidifiers and fans.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so once you're at that stage, it just starts pulling through. You can see in this that we've pulled from today, we've pulled out a fair amount of water just from what we've run here. Yeah.
Right on. So let's talk about the vacuum pump. I know when we did our last video, we were using aquarium pumps, right?
Yeah.
So will you compare the experience of using an aquarium pump versus using this badass bitch?
Yeah, absolutely. This really moves air faster. Also, having a smaller base and a smaller top will help pull the vacuum harder, faster too. But mostly, this is a 4 CFM cubic feet per minute pump, and the other ones we were using were 0.2 or 0.5. So this really just made a huge difference. And these are less than $100. I think this one was $79, or it came out to be $90.
So really, this is $200 all in.
$200. Maybe this is a couple. You go to Home Depot or your local hardware store, and you can find the tubing there for a couple bucks a foot, or a couple with inflation. Who knows what it is these days? But nonetheless, that it's not expensive. For less than $250, you're pretty much set and ready to go.
Right on. And if if you want to take a look at these parts, I'm going to post links below to these, and then if you want to get something else, by all means. But you can actually see what we're rocking here in the links below. So now, Tyler, like I've been watching you all day as we've been doing these rounds. You've got the hash and it's on the mesh screen, and then you turn on it and it like pulls down the water, which is like obvious and amazing, and then you take it off. What do you do when you take it off of the Büchner funnel?
Yep, so when we take it out, we're going to put it on the table. We take a knife and just kind of chop it up a little bit more, break it up so that it gets more surface area. And then you have a lot of different options you can go from there. I've been using a wine fridge. Wine fridges can be set, the digital ones you can set to about 45 degrees, so it's a good temperature to keep that down. They also sometimes keep the humidity low in the 50 to 60% range, which is good. So that'll help it dry a little faster. We've also found that putting dry ice into that, or putting dry ice into a cooler with a cookie drying sheet, the cookie aluminum
like a
wire
baking
racks.
sheet?
Yeah, sorry, the wire racks. The cookie drying wire racks. Those you put those down, and you then put the 25 micron or 15 micron, whatever size you decide to use, sheet on that with the hash on it, and then the dry ice will act as a desiccant and pull the rest of the water out. You can use a cooler, like if you have a cooler to go to the beach with or take a picnic, and then put that in there with the dry ice, and that will help pull the rest of it out. But essentially in less than 36 hours or 24 hours, depending on how much material you have, obviously the more hash you're making, the more space you need to dry and so forth. But once you have that figured out, within 24 to 36 hours, you're pretty much ready to go.
Right on. So you say 24 to 36 hours. Break that out into how much time it's at each place. So of that time, is it like 24 to 36 hours, but only the first like 10 minutes is in this? Like give me the location of the hash for those 24 hours.
Yeah, it's also a nuanced thing, I think, to start with, is what is your relative humidity? I live in California near the beach, so we are in an area where in the mornings it's 90% humidity, easy, pretty much almost every day. It drops in the afternoon and then back up in the evening. And so you have to be conscious of what your relative humidity is, unless you're using a dehumidifier in the room or the tent that you're washing in and stuff, or you're processing all this in. So that is kind of your biggest mitigating factor. But when you pull the hash out of the bag, you put it in here. I'm running it for about 3 to 6 minutes, depending on how long I make my runs. So if I'm making a 3-minute run on the machine, the run before that will be drying in here. Once the machine stops and I'm draining, while it's draining, I'll pull this out, move it, set this up so that I can move the next one in, and then kind of cycle through like that. If I find that the material isn't like the best material and I can wash it at 6 minutes, it dries a little bit faster. It does seem like there's a bell curve where, like, if you do have high humidity, it'll dry it out, but then all of a sudden it starts getting a little bit more moisture back into it. But again, it all is, I think, associated with the relative humidity in the immediate area that you're working in. Once it's in there, 3 to 6 minutes usually is pretty good. 10 minutes will get it really, really, really pretty dry. Like we saw, you're like cutting it almost into sand. Yeah. And then after that, it's just move it into the dry chambers, break it up, put it in the dry chamber, and then I was taking a sieve and putting it in there, sieving it up, and then that opens up the airflow even more and allow more surface area, and it dries it even faster. Within a couple hours after that, it's pretty good to go. Right on.
So as we all know, this has been an evolving technique, right? Like, you're doing it more sophisticated than we did whatever that was 18 months ago when we recorded the first video. Are there any problem points that you are experiencing now that you are trying to sort out at this point? Like, because all of us in cannabis, we trade best practices, right?
Yeah.
So are there any solutions that you're looking for that that other people could be thinking about?
Yeah, so there's a couple things. One, somebody online mentioned putting in a vapor trap here, so that either oil doesn't go back in, or you can collect terpenes and stuff that comes out. That's a pretty good idea. We obviously don't want oil pumping back into the situation. I haven't seen any traces of that or anything, because it would also have to go all the way back up past the frit disc, past the other micron filter. So there's some other stuff that I have to go through.
Let's hit on that a second time, because as you know, YouTube jerk boys, they like leave all these stupid comments, and there have been like a couple people who have left like eye-rolling comments about how using this technique is going to make your hash taste like oil, right?
Yeah.
And but would you explain, just like for the back of the room, why the oil from the pump is not going to end up in your hash?
Yeah, the amount of pressure coming through is so much. It's just, this is what I've been using for the last 2 months, and there's no oil in here at all. You can see it hasn't been collecting any oil. So, having it as a preventative measure, sure, would be great. It's an added cost that maybe, somebody can't afford if it's a $50 unit or a $100 unit. I don't think it's needed personally. I haven't had any of the hash taste like it's flavored off or anything like that. And I looked under a microscope. I haven't seen anything awkward or any sheens, anything like that. So for that nature, I don't think that it's particularly needed, but for somebody who maybe wants to be extra careful, sure.
Yeah.
If you want to experiment and have the money and you find out that it does make a difference and you can do an A/B run and have it tested for petrochemicals, then that's awesome. We definitely encourage people to take this and expand it even more. And if you have those capabilities to do sort of that R&D, let us know what turns out so that we can let other people know.
Last time we posted the video, there were like a whole bunch of comments from people saying like, dude, you need to monetize this. Why are you giving this shit away for free? Some Chad's gonna like bring this into the market and make all your money. And just to kind of like pre-answer the people who are going to comment below the video, what is your answer to this?
Yeah, I didn't really invent anything. I literally just took things that existed and was like, whoa. And I'm sure other people have already done this. Other people have mentioned that they're like, oh yeah, I did that a few years ago or something. So it's not like something that I'm the inventor of this, putting my name on it. Like that's important. I literally just was working. I've been working in a lab and I saw this equipment and it just hit. And I was thinking about buying a freeze dryer one day, and I was like, I really don't want to spend $3,500 to $5,000 on a freeze dryer. Like, there's got to be something other way around it, and it just kind of clicked. And being a patient and having access to high quality medicine is always important to me. I thought, why not just get this information out? I'm not manufacturing something that's unique. Like somebody else manufactures this, I would basically be a middleman for selling lab equipment to somebody where you could just go buy it off of Amazon. I'm not going to mark it up 20% because I'm the guy who invented it, right? Or brought it up or something like that. So.
Also, one of the reasons why Tyler and I became friends early on is we both really believe in the self-sufficiency of patients. Yep. And not everybody has got, the budget for a freeze dryer or a sexy lab or all these things. We're just trying to do some home grow and process it into hash, so that we have easy access to medicine and we can, make using licensed stores an option for us instead of making us have to use them, right? And that kind of independence, I think, is really important for people who rely on their cannabis medicine. So, yeah. All right. So to wrap this up, this is a continuing to evolve technology. So if you have ideas that might improve on this, by all means, leave them in the comments. And then, Tyler, you often talk about this technique on your Instagram, and as you come up with new best practices, you share them. So where can people follow you on Instagram if they want to find out more and kind of just follow along with your trip?
Yep, my Instagram handle is just my name, name, Tyler Markwart, and I posted on there. Also, I'm LinkedIn too, so if you're on there, you can find some information on there as well, which basically shoots you back to my IG, which shoots you over to Shaping Fire. But yeah, those are pretty much the two spots that I'm at. I'm not on Facebook, so.
Right on. All right, cool. Well, thank you for interest in the Büchner Funnel technique, and thank you, Tyler, for sharing it with everybody.
Appreciate it.
All right, thanks.
All right, so now we're going to take the hash, which is on the screen that we've cut out, and we're going to place it inside of the Büchner funnel and make sure it sits in there. Then we're going to take our aluminum foil with a tiny little hole in the top. We're going to place it on top. We're going to take a hair tie. You can use something else. This is what I use because I have it readily available for my long hair. Put it on, make sure it's secure, and then we're going to turn on the vacuum pump. Now you can see the water is coming out of the Büchner funnel into the Büchner flask, and it is pulling out water really quickly. So in roughly 3 to 6 minutes, it'll be substantially more dry than it was before.